Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, navigating the human experience together.
Hafide, Tiro, and welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today we are talking intelligence. No, not the CIA, the other intelligence, emotional intelligence. And here to teach us more is the owner of Island Training Solutions, Jim Arenovski. Jim, welcome.
Thank you, Catherine, for having me.
Hey, so happy to pick your brain today on emotional intelligence. What is it and why is it important?
I think that the easiest way to explain emotional intelligence, a lot of people think of IQ, right? And
Right.
I'm intelligent and I have a certain level of a number associated with my intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something that can be learned, but also has to do with how we develop relationships with people. And to be able to be more self-aware of how my words or our words and actions affect people. Right, so if my tone changes and my voice gets louder and I get maybe a finger pointing and that may be really intimidating for an individual. Okay, another individual it might be just fine. Okay, and so we have to be able to have this sense about us and how we have interactions with people and read their body, read their reactions to us. So about being self-aware, about being and controlling our emotions. Right, making sure that there's certain things that trigger us, things that get us mad, situations or topics or people that make us uncomfortable or make us angry or make us
Defensive.
Defensive. And so you need to be able to be aware of that. And so I'll give a classic example. Right? If I'm going into a meeting and I know there's someone in the meeting that maybe we don't see eye to eye. I mean, we happen to be on the same group, whatnot. I have to go in there. I anticipate that this person, maybe their values and whatnot, don't agree with mine. I have to prepare myself going into that meeting that there may be something that's going to trigger me or get me a little bit upset or get me off guard. I need to prepare myself to be able to say, when that guy or that lady or that person does that, I'm going to process it a little better. I'm not going to react. I may be angry in my head or my body, but I'm not going to react to it. And so it's just about being able to be prepared. If it's some situations, you want to talk about politics, you want to talk about religion, those things can get people very upset. Do you know maybe to avoid those conversations if they make you upset? And so those are kind of some of the bases, like the base emotions, anger, mad, glad, fearful, ashamed, those types of things. You start to become a little bit more in tune to that. And this is not a touchy-feely, getting in touch with yourself and do a lot of meditation. This is really understanding how, if you want to advance in the world, whether it's business, your board of directors, your church groups, your family, running your family, you might need to be aware of how your words and actions affect different people in those groups so that you can get your message across or get your points across in a professional or caring manner. I think those are real important. And these are this type of emotional intelligence subject is something, unfortunately, is not taught at the school level or even in the college level. It's kind of like time management. You just kind of figure it out as you go. And unfortunately, a lot of people, including myself, may have learned some of these things too late. Okay, when I was a young manager, I might have been a little too forceful or a little certainly uncaring, okay, about other people's situations. I was very self-centered about the company or my business or whatnot, and we have to go forward and take care of things at the expense of maybe my employees' feelings or situations. And I look back at that with a little bit of cringeworthy moments, but that's what you learn. And I think if people had more opportunities within the high school and college level to be able to understand about emotional intelligence, they would be successful quicker, in my opinion.
I think people will be able to relate to this well if we give them an example of a scenario where a person is showing emotional intelligence versus not showing emotional intelligence. What might that look like?
Okay.
Either in the workplace or family setting or any kind of interpersonal interaction.
Let's do work, because I do a lot of work. So, let's do a classic, okay? So a person comes in, an employee comes in, and they're tardy. And they happen to be tardy for the third time this week. There's two scenarios. There's one scenario where a boss is like, I can't believe you're late. You don't understand, how important it is to be here. And if you don't come on time tomorrow, you're going to get in trouble. We're going to suspend you, or we're going to, whatever. And, and that's it. I mean, it's just, you're late, and
one-way conversation kind of.
Just, policy here. Here's our policy. We have 3 tardies, and you get a warning. And that's one way of doing it. I consider that to be a low emotional intelligence way of approaching
Oh, you're
things.
so generous. You didn't say lack of emotional intelligence. You said low. There's potential here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's maybe a better way to approach that. Okay, depending on your philosophy. A person comes in, it's the third time they're late. Maybe I should call them into the office and say, hey, maybe start out with some positive reinforcement. Hey, you've been a really good employee here, and things are going real well. But I've noticed the last week you've been late 3 times. Considerably late. It really affects our business. Is there anything going on that I should know about that I might be able to help you with? Okay. By having the employee be able to say, well, my person that usually watches my grandma has been coming late, it's causing me a little problem, or my child's been sick, or whatever the issue. One of the cars in our family broke down, or whatever. Now you have to understand that this person, isn't purposely, coming to work late because he wants to annoy you. So there's 2 ways of doing it. And now, it may not change the situation where we have a policy and you have to be on time, but now you understand a little bit why this person is doing the things that they're doing. It's not because they're staying up all night playing video games or something. There's a legitimate reason, and that's when a person is emotionally intelligent. How can I help this person? If they really are a great employee, how do I help this person? Do I give him a different schedule? Do I give him some time off to get his situation back in line? What is the best ways of making sure that the employee is working for us and is the best employee they can be? Yelling and screaming at them or threatening their job because they have these situations at home that out of their control is probably not the way it goes. And I also believe that if you know that there's a good employee there, you want to be able to encourage them, because you want them to be a long-term employee. I hope, right? I hope people think that they want long-term relationships with their employees because, it's less training and all that. And so an emotionally intelligent manager or person would say, if I can help them out now, hopefully that'll pay off in the long run. With them knowing that I invested some time or gave them an alternative to what's going on so they could be a better employee.
Now, in helping people expand their emotional intelligence, you talk about five points that people should consider when it comes to kind of evaluating or being aware of their emotional intelligent response. Hopefully, what are those?
Those 5 points. You're gonna make me a test.
Oh, let me help you out.
I have them. You get your self-awareness. You get your self-management. You're going to have empathy. You're going to have motivation. All right, tell me what the last one is. What did I miss?
Words and actions. How the words and actions. Our words and actions affect others. Like you said, the
that's our
example of the
self-awareness,
employer. Yeah.
If I walk into my accounting office and I got 6 people sitting in my accounting office, I go, "Hey, you guys, you missed another deadline." Hands are flailing. So I could probably have 2 people who start crying. One person get upset. Other person got to go to the bathroom and leaves. One person walks out, doesn't come back. And another person goes, "Okay, I'll get it done." You have to understand the people you're working with, and you have to curb your reactionary portion of your life and think about how can I best get those 6 people in my accounting office to perform the way I want. Yelling and screaming at them or being upset doesn't work. It never works. And so it's the same with you raising your children or your personal relationships, your marriages. It just doesn't work that way. You have to find the best way to get your point across, maybe, and be aware that people respond differently to different tones and actions. And once you can figure that out, you'll be able to get folks to do what you want a lot easier. Of course, there's the awareness, okay, and then there's the action, okay. So I'm aware that I'm upset. I'm aware that these guys didn't listen to me. I think they should get chewed out. I think I should put some poignant words in there, but I look back in my relationship management or my management myself. I said, is that really going to be the best end result? If I lose one of my accountants because of this, now I got to go hire another accountant. Now I have to put all that time and energy. I have to maybe do a little time traveling and go in the future and say, maybe I should calm myself down. It's only a business, okay? And now what's the best way of correcting it so it doesn't happen again? It's still effective business. We're still making our KPIs. We're still, managing people. It's just how we do it. There are some managers, and I guess I'll take one step back. I believe, and it's pretty much true, people who are not great managers, people who lash out, for example, or people in the vice versa who don't say anything, those people lack the confidence. They lack a lot of confidence. They may have been promoted to a certain level, okay, or they're certainly in a situation where they are uncomfortable. They lack the confidence to be able to interact. And so, we identify people who are emotionally unintelligent as people who are flying off the handle and yelling and screaming. The opposite is also true. Is a person who doesn't say much.
That's interesting.
Keeps all their emotions in. If we wanted to talk a little bit about the culture thought process, a lot of people, I've lived in Saipan in Micronesia for 33 years, 40 years. Some people are not going to voice their opinion. Okay, and although it may be cultural, over time there has to be a level of comfort where they feel value within that organization or that relationship, and they will speak up. It has to be given the opportunity, and the person who's in charge or in lead needs to be able to foster that. And so if a leader is emotionally unintelligent, he's just fostering other people's issues, because every time I speak to my boss, he gets mad or says it's a silly idea, and so I'm just going to keep quiet. And so the opposite is also true. And so you have the awareness and relationship management, and there's the social aspect of how you're acting in public, how you react to people in public, because maybe you're at a gathering, a family gathering or something, or a party, and maybe you're having some, maybe an intense conversation, or you make some comments. Other people can hear and see that, and so socially now people are putting labels on you. Right, and so you have to be aware that that how I speak, what words I use, is it appropriate to even have that type of conversation in a public place before entering into that conversation. And then, of course, there's the empathy part of it and the motivation part.
Let's cover that in the next half.
10-4.
We'll be back after this break.
The Northern Marianas Humanities Council is now accepting nominations for this year's Governor's Humanities Awards. Would you like to nominate someone who has made an outstanding contribution to the humanities? The categories are Research and Publication in the Humanities, Preservation of Traditional Cultural Practices, Preservation of Sinamay History, Outstanding Humanities Teacher inside or outside the classroom, and Lifetime Achievement in the Humanities. Nomination forms are available online at nmhcouncil.org or pick up a copy at the Humanities Council office at the Springs Plaza building in Gualaray.
Welcome back. We're talking about emotional intelligence today with Jim Arenovski of Island Training Solutions. Jim, some people have a lot of emotional intelligence. I mean, they're just really understanding people, and some of us really seem to lack it as adults. Is there any evidence that points to why some people have developed this more easily than others, with the acknowledgement that we all can improve? But what's the science behind that, if there is any?
I really don't have a psychology degree, but the way that I understand it is that the way folks have been raised, okay, has a lot to do with it. There's a thing called the ladder of inference. I'm not sure if people, probably too much, but there's cultural and there's upbringing and there's experiences that when we're young that create our biases, our prejudices, and our reactions. And so if we've had a nurturing, caring parents and network of family, those people seem to be much more understanding, okay, and see other people's emotions. They can see within their family unit that there are different, not everybody's the same. Now, if you grew up in my family, my family was a little different. My family was not nurturing. My family was not. We were latchkey kids. Both parents worked, came home too tired. Maybe some. We're from South Boston, so it was a little bit of yelling and screaming. And so I know when I grew up, that I was completely emotionally intelligent. The only thing that was important to me was me. And over time, you get to learn that. So emotional intelligence can be learned. But yeah, some folks are just natural. They can read people better, and they want to help other people through their nature. On the opposite hand, there are people that are driven by material means, maybe that they get into business or they get into an employment thing, and they think of success and money and promotions and success in a dollar sign rather than success being fulfilled, and they would do pretty much anything to get to the next level or do that, which may mean being emotionally unintelligent, to walk over people or to throw people under the bus or to belittle folks, which is unfortunately, happens, and that it does not promote a sound business, a sound family, a sound organization, because you have way too much conflict, and obviously it does not build trust, which is the foundation for any type of relationship, whether it's business or a personal relationship. And so if you can't be trusted, then there's very little that can do to grow that relationship without some changes.
Well, I think one of the things that you've shared already is that even to that so-called very logical-minded person who's just looking at the bottom line or something like that, emotional intelligence contributes to the bottom line. It contributes to having employee retention and all those little factual boxes you want to check off.
But that, unfortunately, is not taught, at all, and it's very rarely learned within an organization. If you're an accountant, you're going to get, this is our accounting procedures. If you're a cashier, here's your accounting, your cashier procedures. But everybody's going to give you procedures. No one's going to tell you how to ask questions or how to interact, or if you're having problems. And usually managers and whatnot get promoted into a certain position because they're really good at the lower level position. So they got promoted because they showed up on time and they were good. And when you start managing people, right, all you're going to have to draw from is the manager in front of you, who may not have been the greatest manager. You're not actually being taught how to be a better manager. You need to manage it, make sure your labor's low, your costs are down, sales are up, that kind of thing. They don't say, I want your people to be happy. I want your people to be comfortable when they come to work. I want your people to be able to ask questions and have no fear when they make a mistake. One of the classics when I teach for business is your employees should be in a no-fear situation. That if they make a decision and they go forward and they do something and it's wrong, okay, or it doesn't work out well, that they have the space and they have the comfort that they know their boss obviously is not going to be happy, but we're going to go find out what went wrong and we're going to make it right, rather than chastising the employee for making a decision or that they were wrong and threatening them with salary reductions or lack of promotion or even termination, which unfortunately we see far too much. And it's a classic. Employees don't leave companies; they leave managers. And sometimes it's here in Saipan and around Micronesia and the world. If we spent a little more time developing the managers that we're training, we're supposed to do the line work for our employees or our production, we'd be much better in a much better situation if we invested more time and effort to get those folks emotionally intelligent.
So before the break, and before I cut you off due to my lack of emotional intelligence, you were actually trying to give us some tips on things we can be aware of to grow our skills. You were talking about self-awareness,
social
skills. Can you break this down for us a little bit?
Well, let's go backwards. Let's start with the self-management. It's being able to sit there and knowing your triggers. And triggers are kind of a popular word these days. But I know if someone, what makes me the most emotionally intelligent, me personally, is when someone lets me down. When someone tells me something.
You get triggered.
I can find things welling up in me.
Okay.
I can see physical manifestations that someone has lied to me.
Oh.
Someone hasn't done what they were going to do, say. And that, out of all things, makes me the most disappointed and can manifest anger.
Okay.
And so I have to be.
I love your honesty. Thank you.
I have to be careful. When someone disappointed, I need to go back. What happened? Why didn't they show up? Why didn't they do it? Rather than just going and there are no bad emotions. There are bad actions. So if I wanted to strangle, I'm thinking about strangling, but I'm not strangling. So that self-management is really important. I have to find out what the other person or the situation in whole, so I can make a decision. I still may be angry with that person. I can share my anger with that person, but in a professional manner. I don't have to lash out and say bad words or make comments that are inappropriate. Then there's this empathy portion of this and a motivation portion of this. We need to be empathetic. When we're dealing with folks, why did they do it? What's the cause, as we mentioned? And to be able to put myself in their shoes. Even though the project may need to get done, if this person's got an issue, I need to be sensitive to that. And I need to find a way to make it work. Whether it's removing the person and replacing them with another person, put them in another department, whatever it is. I just can't say off with their heads, fire them. I need to, they're still a good employee, they're just having a bad moment or a bad patch. There's motivation, finding out what motivates the people around you.
And different people have different motivations,
Absolutely.
correct?
Some people, as I said, money's important to them. Other people, experience is important to them. Their family's important to them. And these different things are not constant. They fluctuate with different situations. And so I suggest, people get to know folks. Why are you working here? Why did you apply here? What is your reason for working at this company, and what are you looking to get out of this company? If I can find out when I talk to my employees and I ask them what they're interested in, they're going to school, criminal justice, I want to be a police officer. I'm able now to make sure that they understand how important some of the trainings that we're doing are for their future. It's not just for now, it's for the future. And so I want to find a way to motivate folks to want to do a great job, want to be a good person at work, and so that they can see their future selves in whatever job or career that they want to do. Let's see, I got a couple notes here. We talked about social awareness, just being aware of all the things around you and what triggers you and what people may do to trigger you. And then there's that skill set of the empathy and the motivation to be able to project that, to make sure that you may have it in your head, but if you're trying to be emotionally intelligent and you're not manifesting that or you're not sharing that with other people, like tell me, in your mind you want to know, but you're not actually doing the actions to get that out verbally, okay? Or you're not sincere about it, when you say, "Oh yeah, I'd really like to know what you're, tell me a little bit about what you're doing," and then the phone rings and you're distracted or something else. Maybe we can pick this up later. That's really going to be a problem. So you need to be able to say, "I want to be more emotionally intelligent, and so what are my actions going to be?" The next time Jim is late, I'm calling in my office. I'm going to ask him a few questions. Okay, I have a plan. And when we teach managers to do that, we say, "Where are your problems?" And we say, "What makes you upset at work or in the family?" If we're doing personal counseling, what's making you upset? Okay, well, here's a couple of tips to engage that, to be able to ask. And if I ask that employee a question about why this is happening and that we're concerned about them, there's that caring. Right? And so I think that then they would respond a little bit more truthfully, and their actions to try to improve that will be more sincere.
I want to ask you about what you said earlier about emotions, or a couple of things. One was you said there are no bad emotions. Why do you say that?
Well, because you don't have any control. First thing, we talked about emotional intelligence. Emotions are not intelligent. Okay, they're just not. And when you get angry, why are you angry? I don't know. Okay, why are you happy? I don't know. So, someone starts crying. Why? You can't control that. Some of those things, and so I think some of the emotions are okay to continue with, crying or being sad or even being mad, but to manifest them to a point where you're going to lash out or you're going to completely withdraw, those things are unhealthy. Those things are not something you should do. And that's why we always say, if you have the environment, whether it's your family or your work, to be able to say, "I need help. I don't understand this," or "It's too much for me," or I need a break." Those are really great environments to be in. And I think since the pandemic, just let me add something. The pandemic has really sensitized a lot of folks to a lot of different things, and I think that leaders need to be a little bit more sensitive. Some folks have just become a little bit more in touch with their emotions during that pandemic. Especially a lot of people in the States, for sure. Ours, I think, I use an example here in Saipan, are typhoons. Right, so that we had this storm the last couple of days, right? I know there's people out there that get physically scared anxious because of the last two that we've had. Okay, and so for them to find out a healthy way to deal with that by having a process to board up the house or whatnot, rather than just pure panic, okay, and live through the last one that went through that may have damaged a house or hurt somebody, that they have a plan and an action to confront that, to make it better moving forward.
I was just going to say, you were also talking about how, like, when you have strong emotions, we can actually tell when we're getting triggered, because there will be some kind of physical manifestation, either a tightening of the heart or you're starting to get warm or something, and that's a sign that we need to take a breath and pause. And
it is. And some of these emotions are, you may not be able to control, and that's where the emotional intelligence and working on it. So if you don't want to cry in front of other people, you might want to control that. Okay? But is it really that bad? I always look at the two extremes in emotional intelligence when it comes to having emotions that maybe you don't want to show, and one is the physical of anger and yelling and swearing and hitting and throwing. Those things are not productive. Okay, in your head you're angry. Okay, so how do we deal with that anger? How do we be productive, especially in business? How do we if a manager starts yelling, screaming, throwing, they may be following you because you get the manager tag, but they're not following you other than the fact that you're the manager. And the other thing is that if maybe employees come up to you or whatnot, or you're you don't do anything about it, is the other issue that for managers, and I kind of got off topic, but if a manager yells and screams, or a manager doesn't react at all, that doesn't solve the problems, it doesn't they'll work themselves out in their head because they don't have the skills to be able to deal with these, that is the detriment to your leadership, and whether it's a family or that. So,
Jim, I really want to thank you for sharing these insights with us today, and also for your personal story, kind of How emotionally intelligent would you rate yourself? I'm not going to ask Jill, your wife. Yeah, feel free to be biased, but you said you started off rough.
Yeah.
But you were able to grow.
I in all my training, all my emotional intelligence, I said, I am not perfect. I run hot. I still run hot. I am always going and doing
Are you closer to a 10 than a 1?
Oh, yeah, I'm much closer to a 10. I don't think I was ever lower than a 5, but that's a personal opinion. But ask my friends. I run hot. And so I always, and learning this probably 20 years ago, I'm 64 now. I could have learned it a lot earlier. My earlier endeavors may have not have been as professional as I would like them to have been.
Thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we go?
I just, if you or your company believe that emotional intelligence is something that could improve in your organization, give us contact us. 287-7037 is my phone number, but I'll go on our website, Island Training Solutions, type it up in Google, and it'll come to us, and you can send us a message, and we'll contact you and work out a plan. All of our training is customized, so whatever you need, we can make it happen and fit for your company, whether it's a small company or a large company.
And on behalf of all of those employees whose managers need this training, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Our guest today has been Jim Arenovski, owner of Island Training Solutions, talking about emotional intelligence, something for us to reflect on. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
Your Humanities Half Hour has been made possible in part by a major grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Democracy demands wisdom. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities. For more information or to share your thoughts, contact the Northern Marianas Humanities Council at nmhcouncil.org or on social media at 670 Humanities. That's 670 Humanities.